All right, we're good whenever you want to start.
All right.
We're gonna we're definitely gonna have to uh like redo this part. I'm 100% sure. But
Uh,
just make sure when we're done, like the coach, just give it like don't like well, I guess I don't know. I guess it would be more on me if I end it for some reason, then you just give myself like a second before I go right in just so I can cut it easily.
okay. Yeah. That works.
And then do the same like when we're finished with in case it would smoothly go through, just give us a second when we're done with it, just so I can, in case I need to cut it completely out.
Okay. All right.
All right, all right, go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shoot Your Shot podcast, where we're talking all things college basketball. You're here with John and Aldo, and one of us just shattered a shot glass in a garbage disposal, and it wasn't me. Care to explain yourself, Aldo?
Yeah, sure. So, I was just trying to do some adult things and then clean out my sink and turn the garbage disposal on, and it was not a pretty sound. And I was like, well, I wonder what that was, and it just happened to be a shot glass, which was turned into a million pieces of glass. So that was awesome.
I think the lesson there is don't do adult things, or
Yeah,
or don't have shot glasses in your sink. I don't know which one it is.
yeah, one of those two. But combined, it's a mess.
Agreed. So this weekend was the first round of the NCAA tournament. There was a whole lot of drama, a lot of good games, and we're going to run through that here. But Aldo, I know we watched the games together on Thursday night, but I just wanted to get an understanding of how did you watch the games this weekend? Were you with friends? Were you at home? Did you go out to a bar?
No, I'm against the bar scene when it comes to March Madness. At least the first weekend. When there's like one game on at a time. Come this weekend, I don't mind being out. But no, the first weekend I like being home. I like having my projector for one game and the TV for the other. And if you need that third, you go right to my iPad. So that's what I was doing. I was kind of just hanging out at home.
Got it. That's good to hear. I tend to live by the same rules there. I stayed in for most of Thursday and Friday, and then was being pulled in a few directions this weekend. But it was a really good weekend. So we're gonna run through a whole bunch of things here. I know we ran long in our last pod, but a couple things we want to cover here. Off the court, not bracket related. There have been a whole lot of coaching changes already in this season, so we're gonna hit on those. We're going to introduce a new segment called Rolled Up Aces Over Kings. If you are a Rounders fan, you'll understand that. But essentially, the main character in the movie Rounders, Mike McDermott, is really down on his luck. A lot of things haven't gone his way, so his best friend is trying to pick him up. And he recommends going down to AC to get a little rolled up aces over Kings. So we're going to talk about some of the teams and players that had a rough go of it this weekend and could use a pick me up like rolled up aces over Kings. Then we're going to tear through the bracket, and eventually we're going to get to our let it flies. So jumping into the coaching carousel, which is in full swing already, a couple big jobs that have opened and changed here. LSU, Johnny Jones is out, and Will Wade of VCU is in. Washington, Lorenzo Romar is out, which is an interesting one just based on the level of talent he's been able to get and would have had coming in next year and the lack of success. Mike Hopkins, the coach in waiting from Syracuse, is in. So that's just an interesting decision all around. Illinois, John Gross is out, and Brad Underwood is in. Underwood was at Oklahoma State for, I think, less than 12 months, and he made the leap. And then some two really juicy ones here in NC State and Missouri. So, Aldo, I know you have something to say about those last two.
Yeah, so NC State hired Kevin Keats from UNCW, and if you listened to our pod last week, you know that we've been very high on UNCW, and I think it's a great hire. Go with someone, an up and coming coach. He took them to two straight NCAA tournaments, two times that they weren't just there; they competed. He kind of ran through the Colonial the last 2 years. They might have had three or four losses, I would say total, something along those lines. So yeah, I think it's a great hire. He comes from I think Patino's system,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. So he plays a little up tempo. So I think that's just a good hire for NC State and get someone up and coming. And for Missouri, man, Quanzo Martin knows when to get out of a job. He was a coach at Missouri State for 3 years, then bounced over to Tennessee. Kind of had a lot of talent at Tennessee. They had that Sweet 16 team, but
Right, the play.
that team, right, with the playing game, they had three pros on that team. They were in the playing game. They beat Iowa, then they beat, I believe it was UMass, who was a little overseeded, and then they beat Mercer, who ended up, beating Duke in the first round. So, yes, they made the Sweet 16, but they had like a way talented team. They were supposed to be a lot better. So he got out of there before his seat got too hot. And then he was just recently at Cal for 3 years, and people were saying if next year they had another down year, he'd probably be back on the hot seat. So he knows when to get out, get over to Missouri. It's definitely an interesting hire. The most interesting thing is to see Michael Porter Sr., who was an assistant at Washington and where the number one recruit in the country is supposed to go next year, Washington. He was, I believe, an assistant coach with the women's team at Missouri. So it'd be interesting to see if Kwanzaa can pull Michael Porter Sr. over, which would effectively probably bring the number one recruit in the country to Missouri. So that'll be very interesting to follow the next couple months.
Yeah, there are a lot of layers to that hire, and you hit on it here with Michael Porter Jr. Part of the reason that that's even an option is because the head coach at Washington, Lorenzo Romar, got fired. So there's a little bit of turmoil there. And I was reading some things on the Kwanzaa hiring as well, saying that he wouldn't have made this leap to Missouri unless he had some kind of connection to Michael Porter Sr. getting that back. So interesting to see how that one plays out. But yeah, you're right. Kwanzaa has just been bouncing around at the right times, parlaying good recruiting classes and some nice runs into some good jobs. But this is the first job where he won't have to follow the guy. You don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. So you had Bruce Pearl at Tennessee, and then charismatic. Everybody loved Bruce Pearl, and then Kwanzaa comes in. And then at Cal, it was Mike Montgomery, who's like a West Coast legend, and then Kwanzaa comes in. So I think I never thought Kwanzaa and Cal really was a fit, and I think Kwanzaa's from St. Louis, so this makes a lot of sense. And there really is nothing there, at Missouri now. So Kwanzaa's going to have an opportunity to really kind of build that program back up. So I think overall it's a good move. It's just kind of funny how much he's been bouncing around to high major jobs, consistently.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, you're right. It's an interesting hire, and he's been able to bring talent in wherever he's been. So I just don't know how great of a X's and O's coach he is. But hey, I mean, you can't really get much worse than what Missouri's been the last few years. So yeah, it's worth a shot, especially if you can somehow reel in Michael Porter Jr. to come next year.
Yeah, and you hit it. So I followed that Tennessee team of Kwanzaa's really, really closely. I watched maybe like 90% of their games that year. He's a frustrating coach. And same thing at Cal. He's got a lot of talent. He's able to bring in that talent, but there's always a question of how much, he really gets out of it. So I think the critics are credible on that with his X's and O's, but he's been able to get talent, and he's taken the two teams to the tournament in his tenure. So I think it's a pretty good hire for a pretty undesirable spot right now. But moving back to NC State, I agree with you. I think it's a really good hire. We felt, we had said a couple of weeks ago that we felt it needed to be an up-and-coming guy just because NC State is, in the past few years, been a really, really tough place to play with the fan base there. So I think, frankly, they got a really, really good coach in Kevin Keatts, who has been able to succeed in that geographic range, and who also, I believe, obviously wanted that job. There could have been some high major coaches that didn't really want that job because of the expectations, but I think overall it's a really good hire for the NC State program.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. The fact that he wanted that job, and he was at UNCW, so of course you take an ACC job, but having a guy that wants that is key because, like we've said in a previous podcast, that it's just a tough job to have in the ACC and with the other two big Carolina schools there. It's just a tough go, and you got to be able to deal with all the expectations without being able to essentially win. You're not going to come in the top four in the ACC every single year. So.
Right, right, and I think that that clears you from an earlier statement you said about how you'd walk to Dayton or walk to Raleigh if Archie Miller took that job.
Right.
So
Yes, I said I would
you're
move
off
to
the hook.
Raleigh and get NC State season tickets or something along those lines. But yep. So Archie's not going there, like I said.
So you're spared of that. You're spared of that.
And so another big job. Okay, I don't like that. We can I'll edit this out. How do you want to roll into Indiana and them?
Oh, I think it actually kind of made sense with what we were just talking about with Archie, but we can just stop and just say a couple of jobs that are still open are what were they? Indiana and what?
Indiana and okay, State.
Yeah. Okay, so you can just start it up and say a couple other big jobs that are still open.
And speaking of Arch, another big job that's open now is Indiana. They let go of Tom Crean, and the place. One huge name that's come up, a lot of people think it's kind of a done deal, is Steve Alford, the head coach at UCLA. John, what do you think for this gig?
I think it is a done deal. I think Alford is going to take this job after UCLA's season. Alford played there. He was part of that undefeated team. He played under Bobby Knight, and I think it's kind of his dream job. I've also watched a lot of interviews with Alford since the job's opened up, and he's been asked about it a few times, and he has not yet denied anything. He simply said, "I want to enjoy this ride with UCLA."
Right, right.
So two other elements going for him. He's coaching his son, who's a senior. So after this year, he's not going to have to worry about coaching his son and kind of abandoning him. And last year, they were flying banners over his house saying that they wanted him fired, and he gave back a year of his contract. So I don't think it's any secret that although they've had a great year this year, there's been some friction in that program. So I think if he can get out and go to Indiana, I think he will end up doing that, and he can avoid LeVar Ball in the process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't mind LeVar Ball, so I wouldn't get out for that reason.
Oh, I don't mind him.
But
I
you
would
may,
want to coach his sons.
yeah, especially Jello. That might be a little more interesting than Lonzo because Lonzo's a top five pick, and well, LiAngelo's not. So that will definitely get interesting. But yeah, no, I'm with you. The fact that he was pretty much on the hot seat until Lonzo, saved his job for another year. If they had even just an average year again next year, he would be back on the hot seat. So it's not even worth it. So if Indiana offers it to him, I think he's definitely gone. So assuming that they offer that to him, I honestly think that they should offer it to like Greg Marshall or Archie Miller instead. I don't think they will, but I think that they would be better hires. Not an Indiana guy, but I just think they're better basketball coaches.
So
And
yeah, so there are a couple of names that have been floated around. I mean, outside of Alford, you mentioned two, in Greg Marshall and Archie Miller. A couple other, Chris Holtman at Butler.
yep,
Kind
yep,
of what he's been able to do, kind of in state, which would be interesting. So the beauty of that job is, any coach is going to pick that call up and at least hear what you have to say. So I do think they go for Alford first, and if that isn't a done deal, one of these really really good coaches, not at the high level, is going to pounce on it.
yeah. No, I agree. And then real quick on the OK State job because that kind of just opened up randomly with Underwood leaving for Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of underpaid, and from what I've heard, people aren't surprised that he left, but it was just kind of shocking because he was there, less than a year. But some names that were being brought up for that are like Buzz Williams, but they're gonna have to pay him, and they didn't want to pay Underwood really. So we'll see where that goes. And then not who I think is going to get the job, but for who I want to get the job is our boy Doug Gottlieb. Got to give it to him, right?
Bring Doug home.
They got to bring Doug home. It's been a long time coming, and I mean he wants the job. Just follow him on Twitter, man. You can see that he wants the job, but I mean they probably won't give it to him. But I mean if they're smart, they would give it to Buzz. But I would give Doug a shot. I think that he'll end up being a good coach.
Yeah, that's a really interesting job because it from the outside it looked like they found their man for the next 10 years in Underwood. I mean, he came in with an awesome resume at SF and then was able to take a team to the 20. One little wrinkle I think that just broke today is Juwan Evans is declaring for the NBA draft. So whatever
Yep.
coach comes
Yep.
in, the programs are bigger than players. I think so. Gottlieb got his name was floated around two jobs last year. It was OK State and UNLV, and it's no secret that he would definitely wants to get back into coaching at that level. He did like a Periscope or a Facebook chat or something last year that I watched about the UNLV job, and he mentioned a couple things I thought was interesting. His potential assistant coaches. His brother is an assistant coach at Oregon State right now, and Doug kind of hinted that he may be able to pry him away. So, although it's a kind of fun thought to think about, he does have some merit. I actually shot a text off to somebody that we met earlier this year at Oklahoma State when the news broke. He does not see Doug as a realistic option. So I think there's kind of a social media movement to bring him home. But I would be surprised. I do think they try to work something else out. I hadn't heard Buzz Williams before. That would be a great hire. But right, if it comes down to money for Buzz, OK State's going to prove that they might not be able to deliver.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I don't think that they're going to hire Doug, but it would be cool just to see him because, I mean, you can just tell, even just from listening to him on the radio or following him on Twitter, like how knowledgeable he is about the game. So it would just be a cool thing. Like I said, though, I mean, realistically, probably not going to happen. But I will be, part of team bring Doug home for these next couple weeks or however long it takes for them to fill that job.
Definitely.
All right. And so we're going to start up our new segment, Rolled Up Aces Over Kings, and it is brought to you by Hivita. Hivita is the next big thing in healthy lifestyle. Jesus Christ.
You were actually doing really well.
I know.
The 2 words you got out, you were doing really well.
All right. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to do 10 takes of this.
Jesus.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Didn't even start that time.
I'm not gonna be able to get through this. It's like 7 sentences. Okay. All right, it's time to start up our new segment, Rolled Up Aces Over Kings, and it's brought to you by Hivita. Hivita is the next big thing in healthy lifestyle beverages. Hivita introduces spring water from Mount Fuji, Japan. Jesus Christ, fuck. Shit. Okay, we got further this time.
That was good. Mount Fuji.
Mount Fuji, Japan, infused with. I'm just gonna read through it once so I can actually know what I'm reading here. Hivita introduces spring water from Mount Fuji, Japan, infused with molecular hydrogen. With millions of cans sold in Asia, Hivita will be introducing this amazing product to the U.S. this summer. Hydrogen infused water has been a leading biochemical research program for the last 15 years. Okay. All right. What did I even say to begin with? I don't even remember my first line now. I'm worried about Hivita.
You said, all right, now time to kick off our new segment.
Oh, yeah. All right, it's time to kick off our new segment, Aces. Jesus. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. Rolled up Aces. All right. All right, it's time to kick off our new segment, Rolled Up Aces Over Kings, and it's brought to you by Hivita. Hivita is the next big thing in healthy lifestyle beverages. Hivita introduces spring water from Mount Fuji, Japan, infused with molecular hydrogen. With millions of cans sold in Asia, Hivita will be introducing this amazing product to the U.S. this summer. Hydrogen-infused water has been a leading biomedical and dietary research topic of the last 15 years. These studies suggest hydrogen-infused water improves athletic endurance and recovery, increases metabolism, fights autoimmune disease, and has reduced inflammation and improves skin condition. Hivita does this without sugars, caffeine, or calories and is 100% natural. You'll taste the purest spring water imaginable. Now, Hivita is bringing its patent process for maximizing the hydrogen concentration here. Look for it online at hivita.com. That's HYVIDA.com. And check out their Facebook page where they'll be running their Hydronation project where you can submit a video and possibly get some free Hyvita. Simply open, drink, and hydronate. So, John, a lot of teams and players this weekend had a rough go at it. Who is in need of a Hyvita?
So there's a whole team in need of a Hyvita right now, and that is Northwestern, in my opinion. So we talked about it. They've never been to the tournament before. They get in on as an 8 seed. They have a wonderful year, and teams. Everyone's just hoping that they get get one win. So they're able to get one win, and then they go up against the juggernaut that is Gonzaga. And the first half of that game, they're getting blown out. But they storm back, cut it to 5, and then the refs miss a blatant goaltend or shot violation, whatever you want to call it, when a Gonzaga player sticks his hand in the rim to block a shot. So Northwestern could be down 3 at this point. But since they missed the call, Chris Collins freaks out, gets a tech, and the game gets away from Northwestern. So a team that wasn't really expecting to do much takes a 1 seed to the wire and then gets insult added to injury with a missed call and a tech. So I feel bad for those guys, and they could definitely use a pick-me-up.
Hello? Hello?